Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Deandra Vaughn. If you are new here, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you stick around, and if you are not new here, then welcome back to the Clique. Alright y'all, so I am back with another Counselor Reacts series, and this time we're doing the original version of The Ultimatum. So this is season 2, and it's called The Ultimatum, Marry or Move On. So if you didn't see the first series that I did, which was the Queer Love edition, then you can check that out on my channel. I didn't make it through all 10 episodes because I had a lot going on, but for this series, I'm going to do all 8 episodes, so y'all hold me to it. So while we talk about the show, I'm gonna just be pre-pooing my hair because it's kind of a mess and it's wash day. So yeah. First of all, how cute is this butterfly clip? Like, I'm obsessed with it. I have it in like 4 different colors. They're so cute. But anyways, all right y'all, so I'm gonna be pre-pooing with my For You by Tia moisturizing conditioner. I literally swear by this conditioner. It has so much slip. But let's get into this show. So first of all, y'all, Nick and Vanessa are back. And I mean, I don't really have too much of a problem with Nick, but Vanessa is definitely a little problematic. And I do think that if they had a different host, especially like for the reunion shows, it would be better. But anyway, that's what we have as of right now, so we gotta just go with it. We have 5 couples to start off with, and in case you've never seen The Ultimatum, basically one person in each couple is giving the other partner an ultimatum. So they're like, either we're getting married or I'm moving on, hence the title of the season. And at the end of the show, they either decide to get engaged, break up, or they can actually end up with somebody else on the cast. It's a very messy show, but it's entertainment. So the first couple is Antonio and Roxanne. So Antonio is the ultimatum giver in this partnership. They've been together for 4 years, and basically Antonio is like, I've always known that I wanted to marry this girl, and Roxanne is just like, no. Roxanne is like, I've always wanted somebody that was really ambitious, and that's just not Antonio. She says that she's really focused on her career, and she doesn't really see the point in getting married when things are already going so well for her. And y'all, I just kind of view this as a bit of a red flag, because it's like, why are you viewing marriage as something that might derail your career? Like, shouldn't you be looking at marriage as something that could potentially enhance your career and enhance your life? I don't know. That was just kind of like weird to me. So after Antonio and Roxanne get done talking, then we get to Nick and Vanessa again. And Nick basically says, you know, psychologists agree that giving someone an ultimatum is not the best way to get someone to do what you want, but it is the best way to get the answers that you need. And I'm just like, Nick, did you just make that up? Like, I definitely agree that giving an ultimatum is not a good way to get your partner to do something or to get anybody to do something. But when he said it's the best way to get the answers you need, I'm just like, I don't know about that. Because just, you know, my counselor perspective, I feel like if you have to give somebody an ultimatum to marry you, especially on a TV show, which is a public platform, that's not somebody that you need to be marrying. Y'all need to just go your own separate ways because it should not take all that. So now Vanessa is explaining basically what the show is. She says they're going to experience 2 different versions of marriage, and they basically are telling them like, you are compatible with multiple people in this room, and you're going to basically find out if you are ready to actually marry your partner that you came here with, or if there's somebody else out there for you. And like I said before, you're either going to leave engaged, alone, or possibly in love with somebody else. That's how she worded it. So next they introduced Lisa and Brian. Lisa is the one that issued the ultimatum, and she and Brian have been together for 2 years. She feels like, you know, he's probably going to propose because he's never really felt like he was going to actually lose her. And so she thinks that this is basically going to scare him into proposing. And I'm just like, why do you want to have to scare somebody into proposing to you? Like, I don't get that. But anyways, Brian gives, you know, the typical man reason for why he hasn't proposed, which is that, you know, I'm not financially stable yet. I, you know, want to get my money right before I propose. And I literally said in my reviews of the queer version of the show that when people say that, most of the time it's just an excuse. It's like one of those excuses that you can say and people can't really argue with it per se. So it's just like an easy go-to, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna marry her. I just want to make sure that my money is right first. I want to make sure that I can support her financially. It's just like an easy go-to. But that's never the actual reason. And we're gonna find that out probably. So next is Ryan and James. So Ryan is the one that issued the ultimatum. They've been dating 7 years, literally high school sweethearts. He says he just doesn't believe in one true love because there's 8 billion people in the world. Red flag. She's like, I mean, it's been 7 years, so you either know or you don't. Like, by now you should know if I'm who you want to be with. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. 7 years is a long time to still be trying to figure out if you're trying to be with that person or not. If you don't know after 7 years, that's probably your answer. So with these two dating since they were in high school, I just feel like that's kind of all that they know. They've been together since they were literally 16 years old. And it just kind of sounds like he wants to explore a little bit. He's not ready to just fully commit to her because he doesn't know what else is out there. Whereas for her, she also doesn't know what else is out there. And even if she could have better or she deserves better, it's like a comfort zone thing. Like she's afraid to even look or search for anybody else. So we're just gonna kind of have to keep an eye out on these two. I don't know about them yet. Oh, and James also says, you know, he's waiting to get married because of financial reasons too. So I mean, there's that. Next is Raya and Trey. So in this relationship, Trey is actually the one that is issuing the ultimatum. They've been dating for 2 years. Trey's like, well, you know, I got the financial part down pat. And it was kind of awkward because they like showed the other guys who were talking about how they were waiting to get their finances in order. Meanwhile, he's like, well, I don't have that problem. Y'all need to get it together. So Trey says, you know, my parents have been married for like 30 years and that's just what I want. I want to have a long-lasting relationship with somebody. And Raya, on the other hand, is like, well, I've never seen a successful, happy marriage. I don't even know what that looks like. Trey's like, because of his parents, he's learned that love is something that you have to choose to do every day. And it's not just a feeling. And I was like, okay, that's kind of a green flag. Like that shows that he does have an understanding of what it takes to be in a successful, long-lasting relationship. Because he's right. I mean, you do have to choose to stay with the person and choose to love the person, even when they make you upset or even when they make you mad. And a lot of people do not really get to that point, which is why their relationships don't last. So I'll give him that one. That was good. Then Raya talks about seeing people on social media getting boxes of roses. And she's like, I mean, you know, that would be nice. And I was like, yeah, I can already see where this is going. It's not going to be good for them. He talks about how for their first Valentine's Day, he went all out for her. He had roses and candles, lingerie, all types of stuff. And she wasn't really satisfied because she was like, it wasn't like the videos I saw on TikTok. And I was just like, whoa, okay, this girl is, first of all, she's on social media way too much. And she's comparing her life and her relationship to social media way too much. And a lot of people do that, especially in my generation. I'm a millennial, and I would say Gen Zs as well, because we do just have access to so much social media, and people make relationships just look so perfect all the time, and it's like it sets unrealistic expectations basically. And that is what I think Raya has. I think she just has very high unrealistic expectations, and if she doesn't work on that, she's not only going to lose Trey, but it's going to be hard for her to really build anything with anybody. So she ends the segment by saying, you know, she just has a lot of I don't knows. She feels like he has his career all in order and knows exactly what he's doing with his life. And she just doesn't know about a lot of things in her life. And she just wants to get some answers to her I don't knows first. So we'll see. So this is when Vanessa and Nick chime in, I guess, with their little backstory of their relationship. And they're saying how they were together for 5 years. And then Vanessa gave Nick an ultimatum because he just wasn't ready to get married. So they dated other people. And after like a month, he came back to her and was like, I don't want to do this. You're the only one I want. And then they got engaged and got married. And that's essentially where the concept of the show came from, I guess. And they kind of talk about their marriage and talk about love and all that. So after that, they tell them that you're going to have one more night together as couples. And then after tonight, you're going to be exes. You're going to have to choose another partner, live with the new partner for 3 weeks in a trial marriage, and then you're going to come back to your original partner, live with them for 3 weeks, and then at the end, you choose whether you want to marry your original partner, leave single, or choose somebody else on the show. So now they're all headed to their rooms for their last night. Raya is already in the confessional talking about, oh, Brian looks good. Like, he's making me hot. I think that's what she said. He's making me hot. And I'm just like, oh, this is going to be a mess. I just already knew this was going to be a hot mess. So next, Kat and Alex are introduced. They have been dating for 2 years, and Kat is just, she's kind of intense. Her energy is a little bit intense, and she's talking to Alex, and she's just like, you better not like another girl better than me. And I think she wanted like some reassurance here, but instead Alex is just like nodding and blinking at her. Like, it was so awkward, y'all. He's like, yeah, okay. Like, he was looking like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna find somebody better than you. Like, that was what it was giving. So they're talking about how Kat is the one that gave him the ultimatum. She's just like, I'm ready to be with him. Alex is saying, you know, like, I love how adventurous our relationship is. We just really haven't had time to propose. I haven't had time to propose. And I'm just like, first of all, you're telling me y'all have gone on all these trips together and you couldn't propose to her at any of those locations? Like, what do you mean you've been too busy? It doesn't even take that much time to propose to her. Like, that was such a lame excuse. Red flag. She says that she thinks it's probably possible to have more than one true love, But she's like, if you find one, then you're pretty lucky. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty reasonable. I know there's a lot of people that don't believe in the one true love concept. But like she said, like if you find somebody and you love them and y'all are very compatible, why not at least try? Like, why are you so worried about the potential of there being somebody else out there if you have somebody that you want to be with? I feel like if you're that worried about what else is out there, that means that you're not happy and fulfilled with what you already have. And that also means you probably should not be marrying them. So after she says this, Alex just randomly says, "Cat drives me crazy." Which was such a weird response. Like, what does that have to do with her being your one true love? But okay. So now they have this like really uncomfortable interaction where she's literally telling him like, I don't want to lose you. I want to leave this experience stronger. I want to leave this experience engaged. And he's doing the thing he was doing earlier, which was just blinking and nodding. And he's just like, yeah, I hope so. And it was so not genuine, and she could tell. So she doesn't really think that he's for real. So she's like, okay, but do you really think that that's going to happen? And he's just kind of like, like he never gives her a straight answer. It's crazy. And I'm just like, girl, you need to run. Like, he does not want to marry you. Like, just let it go. So next, Raya and Trey are in their room, and Raya is telling him, you know, like, we have a lot to work on in our relationship. Like, we're not ready to get married. We have a lot we need to be trying to work on. And he says, you know, I get that, but why can't we work on it while we are in the marriage? And she's just like, no, like, we need to get that together beforehand, or at least have the process started before we actually get married. And on this, I actually kind of agree with Raya. I know a lot of people, you know, they go into the marriage knowing what their issues are, and they just say, oh, well, we'll work it out in the marriage. And even though, yes, marriage is a process, you're not going to have it all together before you get married. I feel like if you have big, like, fundamental issues, you should probably start looking into that stuff prior to marriage, so that when you go into the marriage, you have the tools to work through them. And that's why something like premarital counseling or something would be good for a couple that is considering getting married. You want to know what your issues are, and you want to know how you can work to resolve those issues. And of course, throughout your marriage, you are continuously working through the problems. And that's what makes your marriage stronger and brings y'all closer together. So during this interaction, we also learned that Alex is an engineer and he's really busy with his job, which Raya does not like at all. She wants more attention. She wants more time. And I mean, you know, I get that. But at the same time, it's like, girl, you know he's an engineer. Like, you knew he was an engineer before you got with him. Be for real. She says that she doesn't want to wait for marriage for him to start planning dates and doing romantic gestures. And I definitely understand what she's saying. But sometimes guys just aren't naturally romantic. So you almost have to teach them what you want them to give you, right? You have to show them what it is that you want them to do. You can't really just like expect them to just do it on their own. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of patience. But if you don't want to have to teach your partner and you don't have the patience for that, then you should probably just date someone that is naturally romantic. It's like you can't really have it both ways. It doesn't really make sense to date somebody that does not have the qualities that you want, but yet you're not willing to work with them to acquire those qualities. They're still talking, and Raya feels like he's always talking about taking care of her, but she's like, I don't need to be taken care of. I can take care of myself. And he feels like she's just making excuses and she just doesn't want to commit to him. She's like, okay, well, what if I wake up one day and I decide that I never want to get married? Or what if I decide that I never want to have kids? He's just like, I mean, I want kids. And she's like, she basically cuts him off and she's like, okay, but what if I say that I don't want kids? Would you be okay if you didn't have any kids? And she starts crying. And I immediately knew like there was something deeper here, just because she was like basically breaking down over this conversation. And he's just kind of like, I want to be with you. Like, that's all I'm kind of worrying about right now. And she says, I know that you want kids. You're always talking about your legacy. And it's something that we need to talk about. And at this point, I could just tell that this is a major issue in their relationship, especially if they have not really discussed having kids very much. That is something that needs to be talked about before you go into a marriage. Because even if he is saying like, oh, we can work on that later, we can figure that out later, right now I just want us to focus on us and focus on our relationship. Even if he's saying that, once they do get married, if they decide to get married, the having a kid issue is going to come up, and it's going to be a major issue if they don't agree on that topic. So I would say it's concerning that they have not fully had that conversation yet, and he's talking about being ready to be engaged to her. And I also feel like that might be why she's holding back. That might be why she is not ready to say yes to a proposal from him, because she knows that they are not on the same page about having children. So Roxanne and Antonio are talking, and she's telling him that she just doesn't really believe in marriage. She talks about how she works all day and night, and sometimes, you know, she just wants to come home and he's already planned out a date or something for them, kind of similar to what Raya was saying. And he's like, well, you know, I can do that, but she just is wondering if there's somebody else out there that will do that naturally. And he basically ends the conversation by saying, if you don't marry me, then I'm gone. So he sounds pretty serious about this ultimatum. The next, Brian and Lisa are in their room. She's asking him why he isn't ready to propose. And he's like, what's gonna actually change if I propose to you? Like, how is my love for you going to change? I just feel like you're forcing me. And she's telling him, you know, like, my biological clock is ticking. I don't have all day. We already operate as a married couple. We love each other. We're best friends. Like, what is the problem? He says, well, marriage isn't just about those things. And she calls him out on it. And she's like, okay, but you keep saying that it's about the financial reasons. So what is it? And he's like, oh, well, finances are a part of the problem, but that's not the only thing. And she's just like, I don't even know why finances is even a part of the problem, because I keep telling you I'm good. She's like, I make 6 figures. I don't need you to be financially supporting me. Like, I can support myself financially. She wants to buy a house, but she's like, we can't really do that until we get married. And he says, well, I don't want to get married just to buy a house. And he was being purposely obtuse, and she recognizes this immediately, and she's like rolling her eyes. She's like, I was just using that as an example. I know we're not going to get married just to buy a house. She feels like maybe the age difference between them is part of the issue. And y'all, I had to go back and look at their age differences, because I was like, okay, well, how big is the age gap? She's 31 and he's 28. I was like, girl, he is a grown man. He is 28 years old. I was thinking he was about to be like 22 and she's 30 or something. Like, he's definitely old enough to understand commitment and be ready for marriage. My fiance and I are 4 years apart. I'm 4 years older than him, but he knew that I was not going to be waiting forever for him to propose to me. Like, that wasn't even something that I had to tell him. And even though he was younger than me, he also wanted the same things, and so the age did not really matter. But I feel like that's another one of those things that's like a bit of an excuse, especially for a guy that is 28 years old. Like, he's grown. And she says, I'm not trying to be 40 years old, and that's basically the timeline that you're on. And I know I could find somebody that could give me what I want sooner. And he's like, well, you might have to go and do what you gotta do. And I'm just like, yeah, girl, he's a red flag. You need to get out of this situation, because he's not even worried about you finding somebody else. And it just doesn't give that he's very serious about y'all's relationship. And she seems very serious. She seems very mature, like she's ready to settle down right now. And that's just not where he is. So that night, they like show them in the bed, and she's having like a meltdown. She's crying. She's telling him, don't touch me, don't touch me. I'm going home, I'm ready to go home. She tries to grab the phone, and he's just trying to calm her down. And we really don't know what happened or what was said. I felt like she was just kind of panicking about the situation. I think she realized she was a little bit in over her head, and she didn't want to do this experiment anymore. I think she was having regrets about bringing her man on this show, and she knew that the next day she was gonna have to watch him dating all these other people, and that's what she was upset about. And when they woke up the next day, I mean, they kind of confirmed what I'm saying because he was like, I don't think you're gonna handle it well. You never handle it well with stuff like this. And she's trying to kind of play it off like, what do you mean? Like, I think I handle it appropriately. Like, I don't be over the top. And he's just kind of like, sure. So that gave kind of like a little prelude to what's to come. So James and Ryan are talking the next morning, and they're just talking about their relationship. James is saying, you know, I already have a ring from my grandma. I'm going to take the diamonds out of that and put it in the ring that I propose with, but I just want to make sure that I can get a nice ring. And she's telling him like, okay, we've been together for 7 years. I don't care about the ring. I just want a commitment from you. And it's like, yeah, girl, I feel you. So now it's finally time for the dates, y'all. So it's basically like speed dating. Everybody dates everybody else. And you can see your partner dating all these other people. So it's very, very awkward and uncomfortable. Lisa says she's excited to talk to the guys, who also gave an ultimatum, since she figures they'll be on the same page as her, since she's one of the ones that gave the ultimatum as well. Roxanne says she's looking for someone that's super ambitious, and she literally says this on every single date that she's on. Like, every guy that she goes on the date with, she brings up that she wants somebody that's really, really ambitious. It got annoying after a little while. Like, okay, girl, we get it. So she's talking to Brian, and they seem to be clicking, but he admits that he's super attracted to Raya. And I'm just like, here we go. This is gonna be a mess. So both of them are given the ultimatum. And while Brian and Raya are talking, Lisa is watching them the whole entire time, y'all. Like, she can't even focus on the date that she's on because she's too busy looking at Brian to see what he's doing. And I'm just like, girl, you should not have brought your man on this show. Like, you clearly cannot handle this. But I digress. Raya and James have a lot in common on their date. They have similar backgrounds, and it's funny because their partners, Ryan and Trey, are also on a date, and they're getting along really well as well. However, Trey does say that he's really excited to talk to Lisa, and so they're talking now, and they're bonding over the fact that they both gave the ultimatum. They talk about how they're both financially stable and they're both a great catch, essentially. And they're just kind of like, they don't understand why their partners wouldn't want to marry them. It's like, might just mean that y'all both need to move on and find somebody that actually appreciates you. Maybe. So Ryan and Alex are on their date. And they also have a lot in common. They're both business owners. They're both ambitious, which we know. Roxanne, that's really, really important to her. He asks what's her number one deal breaker. And guess what she said? Lack of ambition. So anyway, she's really into Alex. They seem to be hitting it off. They do seem at this point to be pretty compatible. So we'll see how that goes. So now all the dates are done, and the next scene is their little cocktail party where they all come together as singles and hang out, basically. So they're sitting around like in a circle, and Brian and Lisa have kind of like a little back and forth, and you can just tell like Lisa is not feeling this whole process. Like, she's trying to hide it with laughter and making jokes, but like, girl, we know you're serious. She is not happy. So they go around the little circle and they say who each person's favorite date was. And I was just like, this is so awkward and cringy. Like, they're right in front of their original partners saying this. So Lisa, of course, gets upset because I guess Brian and Raya were talking about each other. And so she gets upset. She kind of gets up and walks away. Brian follows after her. And y'all, at this point, Lisa is a little bit tipsy. And you can just tell that this is not going to go well, this conversation. So she's like, I just don't like the idea of another woman touching you. I don't like the idea of another woman even talking to you. Why do we even have to go through this? Like, it shouldn't take all this for us to know that we want to be together. And you can tell that she's hoping that he will do what some people on previous seasons have done, which was just say, forget the experiment. I'm ready to get married. Let's go home. Let's work on our relationship. And she's hoping that he's going to say that. But no, he's not trying to do that. He's like, I just feel like we both need to grow and we have a lot that we can learn from this experience. So she talks to the cameras and she's just like, maybe I made a mistake bringing him here. And she just starts crying, like full-blown meltdown crying. And I just feel like, I mean, yeah, you probably should not have come here. You clearly cannot handle this situation. And I don't blame her. I would not be able to ever come on this TV show with my partner unless I just was not serious about him. And she seems to be very serious about her man. So the fact that she's breaking down, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty normal feeling. She just should not have come on here. That's what it boils down to. So Brian and Raya start talking and they're pretty flirty. They're like over in the little cut, flirting, talking, and Lisa can see them. And she is mad, honey. She's still drinking and she's getting progressively more and more upset. She talks to Roxanne about it and she's just like, I don't even think Ryan even likes her man that she came here with. She calls her a hooter, B-word. And at this point, I'm just like, okay, girl, Lisa, we might need to put the drink down, sis. It's not going well. But she doesn't. She continues to drink. She continues to talk. And as she's talking, she's just like progressively working herself up. And eventually she's just like, I'm going over there. And Roxanne is like, no. But it was too late. It was over. So Lisa walks up into the room. And she's just like, what y'all in here talking about? And she asks Raya if she likes Brian more than everybody else. And Brian is just like, well, you know, I've only really talked to him so far. We've been on a couple dates, so I just know him the best. And Lisa is just like, well, I feel like you like him more, and that's bothering me. Oh my gosh, it was so uncomfortable. She's like, I love the person I came here with, so it's different for me because you're the one that got the ultimatum. And Brian is just like, what does that have to do with anything? Raya is like, well, you know, me and Trey are both open to date. We're open to this experience. And Lisa is like, well, maybe you should go talk to him then instead of talking to my man. And Raya, you could just tell, like, Raya is uncomfortable with the situation. She's not really trying to have a confrontation right now. And she's just like, well, I'm not going to do that. But I will get up and walk away and let you guys talk, since clearly y'all need to talk. So Raya gets up. She walks out. Trey is kind of mad. Because he's just like, why are you doing the most, Lisa? Like, that was uncalled for, unnecessary. And Lisa's just like, oh, I'll show you crazy. I'll show you uncalled for. You know, she's getting more and more upset. They walk out of the room. And at this point, Lisa is real mad. And she's like, she walks up on Brian and she mushes him in the face. And she's like, if you want to talk to her, talk to her. Mushes him in the face. And everybody's just looking like, oh my God, what is happening? So it's a whole thing. So Lisa walks out. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm over this. Brian kind of walks out after her. And that's the end of the first episode. So, I mean, so far this season is giving entertaining. It's giving drama. But I can definitely see a lot of red flags in a lot of these couples, especially that last one that I was talking about, Lisa and Brian. They have a lot that they need to unpack and work through. But yeah, I'm going to finish pre-pooing my hair and I'm going to continue watching this show and just giving my perspective. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and also leave a comment to let me know what your thoughts are. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are not already a part of the Clique. I would love to have you be a part of this family, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.